Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Crazy night in the NBA last night. We've got a number of news topics to dive into, plus some really fun games that we're going to talk about today. Keith, man, late night for me last night. Went to OT. Lakers, whew, that was a tough one with the Charlotte Hornets. But I think the place we really need to start, the biggest story of the night, Denver. Denver and Miami, and something that happened with Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nuggets pulled away late in that game, handled the Heat relatively easily down the stretch. Let's just call it what it was. Then late in the game, questionable that maybe Jokic and some other guys even should have still been in, but I think just trying to finish off strong. Jokic midcourt, the bane of the NBA's existence, the take foul, but Markieff Morris amped it up a little bit.
Put a little something
threw
extra
a shoulder elbow into Jokic. It was completely unnecessary. He did not need to do what he did. Eric Spoelstra tried to defend it after, said maybe it was a little hard. No, it was nonsense. There was no reason for Morris to do what he did, but there was even less reason for Jokic to react the way he did. Shoved Morris in the back.
It was like a shoulder tackle or something. It was it was one of the hardest hits you're going to see.
Sent Morris to the ground.
He probably would have tackled somebody in the NFL with that hit.
Yeah, probably. Ultimately, in the end, Morris got ejected because they ruled his foul a flagrant 2. Jokic got ejected because they ruled his unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Both of them got ejected. Guess we'll see today if there's any discipline handed down. There'll be fines for sure for both of them. My guess is maybe we'll see a suspension here. We don't know that for certain. Maybe some are saying maybe 1 game for Morris and a couple games for Jokic. Jokic has no real history of anything like this, whereas Morris does, so that will factor into punishments as well. But yeah, not a good look. And for Denver, even a game or two without Jokic is tough because they're down Jamal Murray, as we know. They're also down Michael Porter Jr. now, and we talked about that on the last show because he got hurt over the weekend. But Michael Malone, before the game, said foreseeable future. Now he kind of walked that back a little bit by saying, it could be a week. I don't really know, what I mean when I say foreseeable future, but the reality is, don't expect to see Michael Porter Jr. at any time because he's still undergoing testing and all that on that injured back. So, not a good times in Nuggets. That's how one of their writers describe it as, well, it was a win, but it feels like the most empty win the team has had in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, when a coach says foreseeable future, that usually means it's long term. It's not like foreseeable future, but hey, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so maybe he'll play that. No, it usually means it's going to be a while. Personally, look, if this was the 80s, Jokic would be playing next game. Today, I don't see it happening. I think the NBA should suspend him if we're looking at everything that's kind of wrapped up in this moment. I mean, it wasn't like it was in the middle of a play. The ball was dead, and he went and hit Markieff Morris from behind. So it was a pretty...
And there was enough of a pause, too, where
he had
it wasn't
a moment to think.
Instant. Like, he had a moment to think about it, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to lay this guy out if I can. And the challenge is now what it's spilled into is a Twitter war. The Jokic's brothers, who have had some legal issues of their own, let's just say in Serbia, they started a Twitter account and basically went after Marcus Morris, who said something like,
the family involved.
Notice he hit. Yeah, Marcus Morris said his tweet, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, I notice he hit him when his back was returned. I've taken note, which is there. The Jokic brothers went at Marcus Morris and said, hey, we can leave it here, or we can talk about this more. Markieff Morris then tweeted like, hey, stuff happens, it is what it is, whatever, you don't hit a man with his back turned or something along those lines. It's just become a mess now. And this is something the NBA doesn't want. As much as the NBA welcomes and loves off-court drama, not this kind. They do not want this kind where it's a bunch of guys in fights and things other than that. So yeah, they're going to step in here and there'll be some punishments handed down.
Would that have been a flagrant 2 on Markieff Morris if Jokic didn't respond? You think you think it would have been like the refs would have?
Yeah, because there's no attempt at a basketball play there. It's completely unnecessary contact. I would hope it would have
Sometimes you see those moments
been, without a
where
doubt.
it escalates and then
Yep.
that causes them retroactively to go, oh yeah, okay, well then he's gone too. I do wonder what would happen there. But in any event, I think Jokic at the very least is getting suspended. Markieff Morris maybe gets suspended as well. And then we'll see what happens from there for both sides. Let's jump over to Hawks and Warriors. Always kind of funny because Trae Young in some ways is kind of seen as the second coming of Steph Curry, or at least that style of player. I don't know that you're ever going to find a shooter that's the quality of Steph Curry, but still, it was kind of a teacher versus student sort of battle here, right? With Curry versus Trae Young, and Curry was once again tremendous. The Warriors pull out the win, 127-113, playing some of the best basketball in the NBA right now. I mean, they're 9-1, and accordingly, odds makers have now set Steph Curry as the favorite to win MVP this season. It's still early, but that feels like a pretty accurate pick to me right now based on the way Steph is playing and the way the Warriors are playing as well.
Yeah, hard to argue it. 50 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds,
50 points.
9 3-pointers last night. He absolutely went bananas. The best team in the league right now, best record. It was funny. I was asked on a radio hit, what's different about the Warriors this year versus the last couple of years? Because still Klay Thompson is out. Well, 2 years ago, everything fell apart for this team. Klay was out, KD had left, and we knew Curry. We knew they weren't going to be quite as good. Then Curry got hurt very early in the season. Draymond Green was in and out. But in some ways, I think what this has done is this is now paying off a couple years later, because guys like Jordan Poole, Damian Lee, those guys got experience playing for this team than that they would not have gotten otherwise had this team been more healthy the last couple of years. And that's now paying off because now they've got pretty good depth behind those mainline guys. I also think their off-season additions are guys that fit within what they do versus trying to bring a guy in and hoping that player can change his game to fit what they do. They went out and got guys who just already fit in. Clearly, Andre Iguodala, they knew worked. They brought him back. But Nemanja Bjelica, Otto Porter Jr., those guys just fit in what they do. And then when you've got guys like Lee and Toscano Anderson and Poole stepping up and playing well, they look pretty good. And we know James Wiseman's return is coming around the corner here somewhere. That's probably going to be another 10, 15 minutes off the bench that, hopefully will be helpful. Good minutes. And then Klay Thompson's going to return at some point, probably around or shortly after the holidays. So I don't necessarily see, barring a major injury, this Warriors team really going away. Now, they're not going to be, what are they, one loss right now? They're not going to keep winning at this
90% clip.
That'll fall off. That'll fall off, of course, but I don't think it's going to be a team that all of a sudden falls off to right around 500 like they've been the last few years.
So, I mean, there was a couple of years ago, like you said, when you saw Jordan Poole and Damian Lee out on the floor, you went, hey, all right, tonight's going to be a good night for my team. And now they've got that experience. Now they've been able to grow, and this team has changed their outlook because of that, because now they've got that depth built in, like you said. So impressive stuff from the Warriors. So far been the best team in the league. And of course, Steph Curry, favorite for MVP at this point, could have won it last year as well. He was right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, could have won it last year. Jokic clearly was deserving of winning it. But yeah, I mean, Steph showing he's got plenty left in the tank here for major top end seasons to go, and that's good for the NBA. It's good when one of your best stars is playing so well and playing at such a high level.
Let's jump over to another OT game. This one was ridiculous. The Grizzlies and the Wolves. Oh my goodness.
So much
it was fun, but man, if you were a fan of either one of those teams, it was a stressful one. But the Grizzlies made a big comeback in the fourth quarter, and it looked like they were just going to win it in the fourth. And then Karl Anthony Towns banks it in from just inside half court, hits the three to tie the game and send it into OT. I will say though, the play before that, the Wolves had a chance to get the ball and go up. They were only down 1 at this point, and they had the ball sideline out of bounds. And the play they ran involved
Yeah.
all three. You had a guy inbounding the ball. D'Angelo Russell was supposed to get the ball. And then the three other Wolves players were all essentially just standing stationary across the court from the inbounder. And then D'Angelo Russell just tried to run around a little bit to get it to him, and they actually got a 5-second violation. It was one of the worst sideline out of bounds plays. I can't even call it a play. It was like, hey, guys, go stand over here. D'Lo, try to figure out a way to get the ball. It was bad.
Nobody screened, nothing. Yeah, it was bad. And it's funny because I saw some people being like, why are you even going to him there? Well, that was the right call because he played great. He had one of the best games, probably his best game of the season, I would say. He played really well. And then, give all the love to Naz Reid on that pass to Towns. He kind of, that was like a football pass where it's put it where only your guy's going to get it. And then Towns, just made the ridiculous shot. But my takeaway, John Morant. Man, that dude is a monster. Like, he just made every play down the stretch and in overtime for the Grizzlies. If he didn't score himself, he was setting somebody up. Just absolutely, dominant game. 33 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists for him. He also had a steal and a block. Get to the free throw line 12 times. Just, he's so good.
He's so fun to watch.
Yeah, he absolutely is. A little terrifying. Like, I would be scared if I was a fan of the Grizzlies, just because he lands so violently. It's like, it reminds me of the way Derrick Rose used to land, and we all know what happened there. But hopefully John Morant will avoid that kind of fate down the line. But thing that stood out here, Brandon Clark got back into the Grizzlies rotation. He hasn't been in the rotation. Zaire Williams, their rookie first rounder, was out, did not play in this game. And Brandon Clark, 8 of 11 for 20 points in this one. Also had 9 rebounds, 5 on the offensive glass. He has not been good really since late in his rookie year. He started to have some struggles that year, did not have a good sophomore year. This year got off to a bad start to the point he has not been in the rotation. They've been playing Williams over him and Xavier Tillman as well. So we're going to see, what becomes of this with Brandon Clark. Did he kind of win a roll back here? Is he going to get consistent minutes? But good to see him get on track off the Memphis bench.
I mean, 20-9, you'll take that any day. Let's jump over to the Bulls and the Nets. Another one that I thought was interesting. And guys, we're bouncing around a few key games here in this one. But Bulls and Nets, the Bulls win 118-95. The Nets had been on a nice win streak, but they do drop to 7-4 with this one. So, I mean, the Nets were seen as kind of the big bad in the Eastern Conference, the team that everybody was projecting was going to make it out of the East. The Bulls, some people weren't sure what to make of them, if things were really going to click, if the defense was going to be able to keep up with their offensive production. I mean, I had the same concerns. And now here the Bulls are 7-3, and they handily took down the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, now it is the Kyrie Irving-less Nets, but still, the Bulls looked really good. They played with a lot of energy. And you look at the fourth quarter, 42-17 in the fourth quarter. That was the Bulls' run. Unbelievable. I mean, you could almost get 17 points out of Kevin Durant alone on a night. So to do that, to hold the Nets to 17 is impressive.
Yeah, held them under 40% shooting on the night as well, which is really good. KD, he had a good night. Nobody else. LaMarcus Aldridge played well for the Nets, but nobody else really did a whole heck of a lot. And that includes James Harden, who said after the game he's not really frustrated with the officiating, but clearly was. In game, there was a stretch where he drove. He thought he got contact. It's one of those ones where it's close now. Like it's one of those where, all right, he didn't get the call. He kind of went to the ground. He ended up sitting against the basket stanchion for a minute. Like, what in the world is happening here? And then later when he did get fouled and get a call, he kind of threw his hands up almost like, hey, thank you. Finally, it happened. But just a poor game for him. And he said that it didn't take him out of his game, but he only took 11 shots, only had 5 assists, just never really looked like himself in 34 minutes there. And again, without Kyrie Irving, KD can be great, which he was. He had 38 points, but you need Harden to also be really good. And I'm also at the point now, I'll issue this for both Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. I don't want to hear any more without, because they're not there. they're not part of these teams right now. Just it's not like even like an injured guy who may be back. Like we just said, Klay Thompson,
Sure.
right? May be coming back. Well, that's coming back. We have no reason to believe either one of those guys is going to play this season. So I'm kind of now cutting that out of it of all analysis of without those guys. It's not that it's not true. It's just like a player who's out for the year with an injury. You have to almost think of it as they're gone.
Yeah.
They're not returning. We got to move off it. On the Bulls side, this looked a lot like the fourth quarter they put up against Boston. A couple weeks ago when they came back when the Celtics blew the big lead in the fourth quarter. Chicago just kept doing what they do offensively. This one was a little bit different in that game. They hit a whole bunch of 3-pointers. This one was just getting to the rim, doing their stuff in the mid-range. I love the way Billy Donovan's staggering DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine throughout games. There's very few offensive droughts. They're searching right now for who that fifth guy should be. I know you called out pre-show. Ayo Dosunmu was in there with 15 points, 7
Had
rebounds.
The crowd behind him too.
Yeah. He's somebody that they really like, second round pick out of Illinois. So local guy there too for them. But yeah, that Bulls team looks pretty good right now. And this is all being done with Nikola Vucevic playing maybe some of the worst offensive basketball he's played, certainly since his rookie season.
He still contributed, though 13 boards, 5 assists. But yes, the shooting, not great, 5 for 14. That's not really him. But impressive stuff from the Bulls. As far as the Kyrie thing and all that, when we're looking at where we thought they would be preseason, then I think it's okay to say, okay, well, they thought they would have them, but now, yes, they're gone. And again, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. It doesn't sound like any of those protocols or mandates are changing anytime soon. So the Nets will be without Kyrie moving forward. Last thing I've got on this is James Harden, 3 free throws. Trae Young, 3 free throws. Now, a lot of people are pointing to these guys, particularly Harden, and saying, see, Harden's a manufactured star. He's not really that good. He just got to the free throw line by tricking the refs, I think part of this is Harden trying to play his way back in. And this isn't just the officiating change here that's turned James Harden into what we've seen so far this season. But yeah, they're allowing a little bit more contact. There's some fouls that are going uncalled. But if that's the price you got to pay to get rid of some of the ridiculous calls that we saw in seasons before, we'll live with it. And again, I think getting rid of a parade to the free throw line, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'll repeat it one more time. Nobody wants to turn on a game, pay for a ticket to go to a game, anything like that, to watch a free throw shooting contest. You can go down to the CYO and watch that there with the kids if that's what you want to do. Let's go across town for a minute with the Knicks. We're not going to spend a lot of time on Knicks Sixers, but a couple interesting things came out of this. So Philly, we talked about this on yesterday's show. They're just down a million guys. A bunch of starters. Guys are out in the health and safety protocols. Doc Rivers is very loath to play more than an 8 to 9 man rotation. He's a big believer in guys have to play to find their rhythm and those kind of things. But he even came out and said, I have to expand the rotation. These guys are just getting too tired. Last night, Danny Green, coming off an injury, played 30 minutes. All the other starters almost at 40 minutes apiece. Just only played 7 men because Paul Reed barely played off the bench. So he said he's going to expand it to 10. Kind of humorously said, I don't know which 10. We'll figure that out. But yeah, so we'll see where that goes. And then on the Knicks side, in a victory. So Kemba Walker played. He was a little off. But here's where this matters now with Kemba Walker is he did not play on Sunday in the first half of a back-to-back. And he said following this game, there's going to be more rest days coming up. He didn't say he won't play both ends of a back-to-back. He stopped short of saying that. But his last year in Boston, that's what the Celtics did. The Celtics did not play him in both ends of back-to-backs. And that is something that's important to know going forward, that he may not. Now, they've got the guard depth. They've got Derrick Rose. They've got Emmanuel Quickly. They'll be able to get by, but Kemba's obviously a big part of what they're trying to do there. And this is what it looked like a lot when he came in after not playing and sitting out. He just looked out of rhythm. His jump shot wasn't there. He's very much a pull up and jump shot heavily dependent player. So if he's out of rhythm, it's just probably not going to look that good. Now that's a little tough to have. So let's just keep an eye on this moving forward, because the Celtics were of the opinion of can't play him back-to-backs because you're never going to get him through the full season. And maybe that's where we're going here in New York as well.
Could very well be 25 rebounds for Andre Drummond with Joel Embiid now out.
Yeah.
That's a massive performance, even though they did drop that one. Let's finish up by talking a little Lakers and Hornets. Exciting game. Unfortunately, from my perspective, it became very exciting. The Lakers again blowing a big lead in the fourth quarter. One of the craziest moments I think we'll see this year in a game. 5 consecutive free throws for LaMelo Ball. That was you had 2 free throws for a foul, and then you had a delay of game and 2 technicals led to 5 free throws in a row for LaMelo Ball to cut the Lakers lead to 4 late in the game. And then the Hornets came back and took it to OT.
Yeah, absolutely. This was the Anthony Davis you need without LeBron. He was absolutely dominant on both ends of the floor. This was maybe one of the best defensive games I've seen him play since the bubble.
5 blocks.
I just thought he just controlled everything too. He was switching out to guys on the perimeter, doing, just really wrecked everything Charlotte wanted to do for a very long period of time. In this one, Russ did not shoot it well, but he still put his stamp on the game with 14 assists. I thought he did a good job of pushing pace at times in this one, kind of catching the Hornets almost at their own game. And then Melo, again, we've talked about it. If it wasn't for Tyler Hero, he'd probably be the 6th man of the year. He's just been that good off the bench, 9 of 13. Now, I have to say this. Anthony Davis's comments on Melo after the game, what are you talking about? Everybody gave up on this guy. No one wanted to give him a chance, and look at what he's doing with us. One, Portland gave him a chance, and he did this kind of stuff in Portland. They would have happily have kept him, but he wanted to join the Lakers, and that's his choice, and that's the right thing to say. But you could have given him this chance 2 years ago, and you didn't. So let's not make it out like the Lakers were the savior of Carmelo Anthony here. Come on, Portland did the work. It's getting a little. We're creating a narrative that doesn't exist. I mean, I get it. Have your boys.
I didn't see the post-game comments yet because I got my audio done and I went to bed right after that thing ended.
Welcome to living on the East Coast.
So I had to. We did our post game show, and that went like an hour and 15 minutes. So it was like 2:30 in the morning here. By the time I actually got to bed, which means it was like 3:30 your time.
Yeah, it sucks.
So I didn't see the comment, but what a lot of the guys have been referencing has been his post-Houston stint, and then talking about how good he's been. I'm sure that's probably what AD was talking about. Again, I have to go back and actually see the comment.
I get it.
John Morant put.
What are we skipping? The 2 years in Portland?
I mean it's just that we're now seeing like a superstar version of Melo because he's shooting a ridiculous percentage, and it's not gonna continue that way, right? Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Enjoy it right now, but there's no way that he's shooting 50% from 3 for the season. If he does, he's the 6th man of the year. Right,
without it, he's all NBA if he keeps putting up these kind of numbers.
He's been fantastic.
You ride this as long as you can, especially with LeBron out. Get everything you can out of him. Just know, some point in the next couple months, there's probably going to be a bunch of 4 for 15s mixed in there. Just because this is incredibly ridiculous stuff that he's doing right now. I mean, this is shooting that we rarely ever see.
It's been amazing. He's been fantastic, and it's. People are starting to say they had Olympic Melo, and now it's Staples Center Melo, or Staples Melo is what we're seeing. Hoodie Melo, you've got Olympic Melo. This is Staples Melo.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything at all away from Carmelo.
He's been
Anthony,
fantastic.
because he is owed every bit of this, because it is absolutely true that teams basically said we're done. We give up on this guy. It's not there, but. To be like, we're the ones who made this happen. No, you're not. Like, Portland was the ones who stepped in and brought him back and got him back to playing where he is. Yeah, I had to pull it up to look. Shooting 50% from the field and 52% from 3. Like, that's just not going to continue. Those numbers are going to drop off. It's just, otherwise he's going to put in arguably the greatest shooting season in the history of the game. And that's, I feel fairly confident that that that's probably not going to happen
If it
at
does,
this
it's one
point.
of the
But all
yeah.
credit in
If
the
he
world to
continues anywhere
Melo.
close to this, it's one
I
of the
mean,
biggest stories of the season,
oh
right? I
yeah,
mean, that's
without a
just a
doubt.
testament to
Yeah.
him. He's also
Yep.
been putting in the work on the defensive end, which has not been what he's known for. And that's not saying that
Yeah.
he's suddenly
Absolutely. Yep.
a top NBA defender, an all defensive team player, or anything like that. But Frank Vogel, a few games ago, kind of drew the line in the sand and said, look, anybody who's not playing defense is on the bench. That hasn't
Yep.
always played out that way. But Carmelo Anthony, to his credit, has been really hustling on that end of the floor, too. It's been noticeable. So he's been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and Frank Vogel can say that until he looks down and it turns into Hoosiers, and he's like, "My team is on the floor,"
Yeah.
because you run out of guys because there's not that
Yep.
many guys on the bench to do that. It was funny. I had somebody say it kind of looks like you could tell the difference when somebody's looking at box
Yeah.
scores versus watching the games, because the comment was, "I don't understand Andre Jordan hate. It looks like his numbers have been pretty good." And I get it. If you look at the box score, 4 for 4 for 10 points, 8 rebounds, but slide over single game plus minus is not something you generally want to use, but -9 feels about
Uh-huh.
right in 10 minutes. He just can't defend anymore. He especially they have to play away Frank Vogel doesn't want to play, I think,
Mm-hmm.
with him in there, because you can't bring him up to the level of the ball to do anything because he
Yeah.
just gets blown by. I mean, LaMelo Ball got downhill against him. It felt like 20 times in those 10 minutes, and either created a good look for himself or a good look for one of his teammates there. So, yeah, it's just it. I mean, part of it is
Yeah.
just old. I mean, there's just not a lot to it, and he was a player who was so heavily dependent on his athleticism that's going to be tough. It was interesting to see LaMelo Ball a
Triple
night
double.
after kind of calling out James Borrego, saying I need to play earlier in the fourth quarter because they blew that big fourth quarter lead against the
Mm-hmm.
Clippers, I believe it was. He responded with a triple double and played basically 42 minutes in this one, so that's something there. Gordon Hayward up there too,
Yeah.
41 minutes. History tells me that doesn't always
Right.
go that well once his minute load starts really increasing like that. So just something to keep an eye on there. But yeah, I mean, a win the Lakers needed to have. This is it's the Hornets aren't terrible anymore, so this is a good win with this. So that's something to kind of hang your hat on a little bit here moving forward, and I think this is it's asking a lot of AD to be this guy nightly, but that's what you need, especially as long as LeBron is out. You just need him to be MVP level Anthony
I don't know if
Davis.
you saw it, but this game changed significantly when Rajon Rondo got ejected from this one, and that was
Yeah, and he had been playing kind of
he was
well.
actually good.
Running the
offense, he was phenomenal. He was throwing all these lobs to Anthony Davis. They just had that mind meld going, and he looked really good. And from the reaction in Staples Center, from the reaction around Twitter, people kind of went, uh-oh, because that meant Russell Westbrook had the keys for the entire fourth quarter, just about. There were about 10 minutes left in the fourth, and he proceeded to turn the ball over 4 or 5 times, I believe, in the fourth alone.
Yeah.
And you could start to hear the crowd in Staples getting frustrated with Westbrook. And so that's the first time that we've seen that kind of reaction. The Staples Center crowd loves Carmelo Anthony. If he does anything, they go berserk, right?
Yeah,
but now you're starting to hear kind of that uneasy murmur. You get in a crowd when there's a guy that they don't want to shoot gets the ball. Started to hear that last night for the first time with Russell Westbrook. So just something to keep an eye on moving forward. Stat wise, Russ triple doubled and all of that. But there were some big mistakes made down the stretch there that the Staples crowd was not too happy about.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers bench won this game for them. There's really no other way to put it other than that. I thought Wayne Ellington gave him some solid minutes as well. He hit a couple shots. Malik Monk, same kind of thing. It's just a little tough. You can't really play those two guys together at all, just because you get real messy defensively with there. But I thought Vogel, and I thought Vogel did a good job, kind of moving on from Bazemore.
He had a rough night
when kind of early on, like just basically saying, all right, these are the guys I'm gonna run with, and he really did, especially down the stretch. Just these are the 5 guys. I do kind of wonder with the way Rondo was playing and controlling a game. It's so hard, but would he have closed with Rondo over Westbrook?
It
Like that you gotta kind of wonder because that's a tough.
it would have meant like
tough look.
15 straight minutes for Rondo if you had just closed out the game with him, maybe
Sure.
16. So that would have been tough. You would have had to sub
Yeah.
Rondo out probably midway through the fourth and then go back to him, and then it would have been a bigger thing, right? Like if you had just played him the rest of the way through and said, "Oh well, this group had momentum, so I just stuck with them." That's an easier sell than I went back to Russ and then pulled him and put in Rondo. So I am curious too how that would have played out, but the team was playing better with Rondo in there. So who knows?
Yep. And the important thing, they didn't play any minutes together.
Very important.
In a 53-minute game, Rondo got all the backup minutes behind Russ. So that's probably I think a lesson they have learned, that unless it's an absolute necessity, we're not going back to those two playing again. You just can't. You can't build a functional offense with those two playing side by side. I don't care if the other three guys were, Kyle Korver, Steph, and Curry, and this version of Carmelo Anthony. You're probably going to struggle to
still like Carmelo Anthony is now in that upper pantheon of NBA shooters.
Right now he is. Yeah, this week. Yeah. Well, hey, you go 7 for 10 from three. You're getting, as the kids like to say on the Twitter machine, you're going to get your flowers.
The Twitter machine. Yes, the getting his flowers. That is the current saying right now. All right. Exciting night in the NBA last night overall. A lot going on, a lot of fun things, and then some major stories. So glad that we were able to break all of this down. Let us know, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Light night tonight.
Light night tonight. I think you said late night tonight. I went, oh no, not again. Not again.
No. Yeah. No, not tonight. I somehow don't see myself staying up for Trailblazers Clippers tonight. The unfortunate thing is it should have been a really good game. Bucks 76ers, but now it's, if you can't see me, it's Bucks 76ers. I'm doing the air quotes because it's two teams that are just ravaged by injuries. So it's in illnesses. And then Hawks Jazz 9:00. That 9:00 window is a good one. I like that one because that ends at a still semi-reasonable hour. 12:30 for Trailblazers Clippers. That'll be one.
It could be an interesting game too with the Hawks. I mean, Trae Young, second night of back-to-back, but we'll see what they can do against a good Utah team.
Yep.
All right. Well, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget, subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. If you listen to the podcast version of this, make sure you do subscribe. And don't forget, toss us that 5-star rating over on Apple Podcasts if you don't mind. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and see ya.